Hey guys, it is April from Getting Hooky With It. Today I'm going to do a video about murderesses in books. Now I am someone who is very attracted to scary stories, so I think for each of these books I went in kind of hoping for that fear factor, and I came away with something much more compelling actually. The first book is Alias Grace by Margaret Atwood. This follows the story of Grace Marks, who is a servant, and she's a young servant. I believe she's 16 or 17. She is convicted of having had her own part in killing the man that she's working for and also his mistress. She's been convicted, and a doctor comes to meet with her regularly to try to kind of figure out, did she actually do this? Because there's still a lot of people who think that she's innocent, and she seems to not remember anything about the actual event. Now, Margaret Atwood is a brilliant storyteller, and so you find yourself completely entranced by Grace, and you spend the book trying to piece apart what's happened in her life. Did she actually commit this crime or not? And you also are trying to pull apart her character and try to understand her, and if she didn't do it, then why is she going along with this? It's beautifully written. Another fascinating thing about Alias Grace is that this is based on a true story that actually happened in Canada, and it's that extra layer and Margaret Atwood's version of how that all really went down, because it was such a sensationalized story that just is so fascinating. I can't believe that actually happened in Canada. The next book is Jane Steele by Lyndsay Faye, and this book follows Jane, who interestingly has a similar kind of life to Jane Eyre, and she refers to Jane Eyre a lot in her story. And you follow her life as a child, where she's kind of being brought up by this aunt who's really mean to her, and she has to put up with her cousin who's also not so nice to her and makes advances on her that are totally inappropriate. So you follow her life then, in school when she goes away to school, and then in London as well. All of this as a child, and in all of these moments she seems to have this strange affinity for killing people, and she always is able to kind of justify why she's doing what she's doing, and this is a really fun read. You follow her leaving home and then actually going back later on as a governess, and she's just a really interesting character to dive into. I really enjoyed just trying to figure out what this character is going to do next, and you find yourself, you know, kind of agreeing with why she's killing all of these people and not minding so much, because they're not always great people that she's killing. And yeah, no, it's a really fun read. So the next book that I want to recommend is Rites by Hannah Kent. This follows the story of Agnes, who lives in Iceland in 1829. Now, she is convicted of killing a man, and she's sent away to live with this farmer and his family to work the fields and to be helpful until the time of her execution. Now, they don't have executions in Iceland. Nothing wrong ever happens in Iceland, so they actually have to go and get the guillotine, and all of that stuff needs to come in from I don't even know where. At first, the family really tries to ignore Agnes because, wow, we have a murderess, like just hanging out and chucking corn or whatever they do. So they avoid her like the plague until one of the daughters actually recognizes Agnes and seems to know her from somewhere. And this family starts to build a relationship with this woman. This is beautifully written. Hannah Kent has such an amazing writing style. You're really able to feel the isolation and the cold of Iceland. The next book is The Girls by Emma Cline. Now, this book follows Evie, who is an average, you know, teenager who's got a lot of angst. She's not happy where she lives with her mom, and she one day sees the girls and they walk by her and she's completely entranced by this one girl named Suzanne. So Suzanne takes her under her wing and brings her to this kind of compound, and she meets essentially this character that's based on Charles Manson. So Charles Manson and these followers killed a ton of people in the 1960s. So this whole book is based on that little group of people. Not only are you wondering if Evie is going to participate in some of these crimes and murders in particular, but you're also kind of getting a glimpse of how Charles Manson was able to suck these women in. So not only is the storyline itself really enticing, but the way that this book is written is amazing. I literally felt sticky reading this book, and while I was reading it, I wanted to go and take a shower a lot. On the compound where these people are living, they don't clean at all. They barely clean themselves. The way that they like chop fruit, eat things, you literally feel disgusting while reading it. And if that's not good writing, I don't know what is. The next book I have to recommend is Affinity by Sarah Waters. Now, this isn't one of Sarah Waters' better known books. It follows Margaret, who has just attempted suicide, and she agrees to volunteer at this like Victorian London jail to, you know, kind of make up for what she's done. And she meets Selena, who is a spiritualist. Now, Selena is in prison because she was conducting a seance and it went horribly wrong and it left the matron dead. And so she's there for that reason. Now, I read this about 10 years ago now, so it was a very long time ago, and yet the relationship between Margaret and Selena, which is slowly but surely built, is still one of the most interesting relationships that I've read in a book. And I really loved this book. I think it was most definitely one of Sarah Waters' better books. So I really hope that you read it. Those are all of my books for Murderesses in books. Let me know if you would like me to do more videos like this. And I hope you have a really great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!